Hello and welcome to the WhatCulture podcast. I'm Kenny McIntosh. No, obviously I'm not. I'm really sorry. Are you alright?
It's horrible, that.
I'm sorry. It's
know,
not my voice.
Racist as well.
It's not racist. It's just good-natured, isn't it? Just banter, sorry.
It's not his fault.
Kenny's not with us this week. He's currently on tour with Scott Steiner. I just checked his Facebook and I think they're currently in the air on their way to Belfast. So if you can imagine Scott Steiner on an EasyJet, that's...
You wouldn't fit in the seats.
I think that's the point. I think it's quite comedic. Apparently last night, something happened involving Kenny's mother. She was in the crowd. It was his hometown show. It was Glasgow. And Scott Steiner had a bit of a flirt with her, I think.
I think the expression was he wanted to pump her.
Wanted to... Right.
Big Papa pumper.
I see.
There we go.
What does that mean?
Well, it's a family show, so I won't go into any detail.
When a woman and a Steiner love each other very much.
Yeah.
So we've got some questions this week.
Worst segue ever.
Well, first of all, welcome to WWE Questions You Most Want Answered for the 24th of March. I'm Jack the Jobber, or Jack King. I'm here with Ross Tweddle, or King
Ross.
I was getting there, King Ross. And I'm here with James Dixon as well, who started off quite negative. Then the week after that, he got a bit more sunny. So now, it's just all going to be...
More sunny?
All going to be, yeah, a bit more...
That means something different
That's
to me.
quite an accusation.
Got a bit more...
Been on Skype recently, James?
A bit more optimistic. So this week, it's just going to be...
We're ray of sunshine.
Yeah. Can't wait. So we've got some questions that have been sent in to you via our official Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. And we'll start off with the first from at SK The Warrior. It's which match is going to main event WrestleMania? So we've got two candidates, obviously, Triple H v Roman Reigns and Shane McMahon v The Undertaker in the Hell in a Cell match with all the stipulations. So first of all, which one do we think will main event WrestleMania 32? So Ross, what do you think?
Well, I was all expecting Roman Reigns lifting the championship to be the final shot of Mania until Monday night's Raw, when Chris Jericho said that he broke the Shane McMahon Undertaker match into 3 parts. Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania equals main event.
Mm-hmm.
Undertaker match at WrestleMania is a main event. Shane McMahon returning to WWE, that's a main event.
I mean, I disagree with that last one, but yeah.
I disagree with the first two, actually.
All right. Well, there's been Hell in a Cell
Well,
matches
Triple H
before.
Taker was Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
But anyway, they had him say that, which leads me to believe it's going to be on last. It changed my mind. And if it didn't, Chris Jericho has fooled me and made me like a fool in front of the world.
Yet again. Because he's always tricking us fans, isn't he?
What's he like?
The jokester. James, what do you... Jericho. What do you think? Which match do you think will headline?
I would imagine it'll... I mean, I agree. I think it'll be the Hell in a Cell.
Right.
Purely for the fact that, look, the rules are different when there's a McMahon involved. And ordinarily, the title match should always go on last. And in the past, it's gone on last when arguably maybe it shouldn't have, when there was better choices. But the fact that it's, especially with the new stipulation as well, that's been thrown in for Taker, you know, his last match is not going to be, or potential last match, not that we really believe it, but they want you to believe it, and no one's going to believe it if his last match is in the mid-card. So it has to go on last. There's more at stake in that.
It's probably, I mean, before we get to which one we think should main event, it's probably one of the weirdest WrestleMania main events of all time. It's probably up there with, if it were to main event, it's probably up there with Lawrence Taylor, Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that probably shouldn't have gone on last either, but it did. But yeah, it is, because I mean, you've got an aging part-timer against an aging non-wrestler.
Yeah.
Know? And it is a strange one, but WWE have got themselves into that situation now where, you know, the title match should mean more, but it doesn't because of the guy that they're pushing in it. And Roman Reigns isn't a WrestleMania headliner and closer, and because he's not going to get the response that they want, he's not going to get cheered. He's going to get booed out the building. And do you really want to end WrestleMania on that low note?
So I mean, I can sort of infer from that you also think that it should headline as well.
I think the title match should always headline, but in this case, yeah, I think Hell in a Cell probably is the better option purely for this show and based on the build-up and how I think the crowd's going to react.
I mean, I can see your point. I mean, Ross, what do you do you agree with that?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll leave it at that.
Right.
No, just thinking back to
I thought we were going to leave it there.
WrestleMania 18 is sort of a similar situation where the obvious main event didn't go on last, and then the crowd were just absolutely pooped.
Yeah.
By the time the main event came on, it wasn't as good.
Especially if Shane takes a big bump or
Exactly.
something.
Everyone's going to go radio rental.
Radio rental. Should explain. Ross often says radio rental.
Because it rhymes with mental.
The place will go crazy is what he's trying to say.
What about you, man? What do you think?
Thanks. I think that it's a tricky one for me because I totally agree with both your points. I think all logic should dictate that it should go on last. But I'm very traditional in the sense that I always think the title match should go on last. And it's too hard and fast a rule to apply all the time, obviously, but it just feels a bit wrong when the title match isn't in the main event. I'm the same with when champions make their entrance. The champion should always make his entrance last in the match.
Absolutely. Even if they're not as over as the guy that the wrestling, you know, or not as big a
should
star.
Always go on last.
It's your right as champion to go on.
It certainly is. But in this specific instance, as much as it pains me to do so, I think I'm going to agree and say that Shane Taker should go on last. The ending of the Triple H Roman Reigns match is either going to be mutiny, like outright, like horrible reaction from the crowd.
All right, they'll just pipe some cheers
Or,
Or they'll send The Rock out to or Austin to give him the
all
rub,
of them.
I guess.
Send all the legends out.
They'll
and
have
just hold
That's
them.
what Meltzer said about Shawn Michaels. He's going to be part of one of the two options was he's going to be part of a multi-legend run-in in something.
Oh, the
So
might be
Hell in a
that.
Cell.
Might
I
be
think
that.
Hell
All
in
in,
a
get him on his
Cell.
shoulders. Roman's there.
Okay, it kind of worked last year when Triple H beat Sting, and because there's so much going on, even though everyone thought that was stupid,
Yeah.
and it was, you know, there was so much going on that people didn't really riot or
I mean,
anything. They were,
Why were the NWO on Sting's side? That's never a thing that should be.
Look, it's WWE are a
Why
bit
would-
egotistical.
What
what
aren't
about
sure
X Pac? You know,
Yeah,
split
true.
loyalties.
I guess so.
Should have turned midway through the running.
But then, it could, I mean, you could have Roman winning, and that's going to be a bad ending. Or if Triple H wins to close WrestleMania, that's a bit of an underwhelming ending as well, I think.
He's going to be far.
Yeah.
You know, WrestleMania
Said multiple
2000, he was the
times.
heel.
Yeah.
We'll know if that's going to happen as a result of the Taker Shane match. Because if
Ooh.
Shane wins,
Hang
didn't
on.
Vince say that Triple H and Stephanie will leave the business?
But how can he leave if he's the champion?
Well, there are.
Cat in amongst the people.
Do you remember
You've thickened the plot
the
there, haven't
invasion
you?
angle in 2001 when they did Survivor Series? They had it so it was like the big blow off WCW vs WWF,
Yeah.
and they had it so all the champions kept the jobs, no matter which side they worked on, because everyone was fired on the on the losing
Didn't Test
side.
have immunity or something like that?
Yeah,
Is that-
Test won a battle royal for immunity, and then you had like whoever was the champion, the Intercontinental champion. If they represented WCW, they wouldn't be fired, and so it kind of. I think there was only like two
That was
people
quite a
ended up
good
getting
idea.
fired in the end.
Or Vince's words are just empty.
Well, that's possible as well.
Triple H
You
and
know.
Stephanie be there until we're all dead.
Almost certainly. The thing is, Triple H winning, you know, for all you say it might be a bit, you know, of a down ending. And he has done it before. They're not afraid of doing it. He did it at WrestleMania 2000 when Rock obviously should have won, but it did lead to some great matches afterwards, Backlash and Judgment Day, which were, you know, maybe worth Triple H winning at WrestleMania for them. But he beat Sting last year. He's won other matches that people were flabbergasted that he won, and this year I think he'd actually get cheered if he won. I think that's the babyface ending if Triple H wins.
I mean, I don't want to suggest anything about Triple H, but if anyone's going to win when no one thinks he can win,
Absolutely,
might be Triple H.
I would expect so.
With a shovel.
With a shovel? I mean, a metaphorical shovel.
Metaphorical.
I was going to say. I was going to say.
Ruined that.
I was about to be like, "He uses a sledgehammer. What are you talking about?"
Thanks a lot.
Our second question also involves WrestleMania 32, and it's so close now. Like it's really crept up. It's just next week, and it doesn't seem like
can you believe it?
it doesn't seem like it seems like we've got the bare bones of a card.
Yeah.
Which is what Art Mike Blackmore 96 thinks. He says, due to injury, could this be the worst WrestleMania of all time?
No.
All right.
no.
Whoa.
No.
Strong opinions.
No. Silly question.
Oh,
Silly question. Silly man.
Mike Blackmore 96. He's a youngster. He's younger than us. He's only 20 or 19.
That's still. He's of age.
He'll be watching.
He's
He'll
a
be
mature man.
He'll be watching this, lollipop in hand and a fistful of dreams, and you've just crushed them horribly.
That's what
I don't
do.
think he wants it to be the worst WrestleMania.
No, right, yeah. I agree though. There's been far worse WrestleMania. Like the quality of wrestling's obviously.
Well, let's
light
just
years
say
ahead of-
9 will never be beaten as the worst WrestleMania.
I think 9's the worst of all time.
Surely.
Probably, yeah.
Look, it's not going to be the worst. It's every single year the build-up is poor in recent
Last
years.
year was the prime example.
Oh, it was off. But how good was the show?
Exactly.
You know,
Coldest of cold build-ups.
WrestleMania they seem to always get right. Other than 27 and The Miz. You know,
Since then, they've pretty much
since
knocked it out
then
of the
it's
park.
pretty much been great. And you know, the build-up's always a bit going in. You're like, well, man, I'm not really that excited this year, but it turns out to be pretty good. The wrestling's always good. That's
They always somehow do it, don't they?
on all the pay-per-views. The wrestling tends to be pretty good. You know, the TV's bad, but the wrestling itself, you know, is fine. And WrestleMania, they always deliver. You know, you've got all the staging and the, you know, the smoke and mirrors stuff as well. It'll be fine. It'll be good. It'll nowhere be the worst.
No, it won't be the worst. I don't think it'll be anywhere near on the level of 30 or 31.
But
Who
why?
knows?
Last year's card wasn't that appealing.
Because it had
going
that
in.
moment, though. It had
Last
Rollins
year's
in it.
build was as cold as it's ever been.
The show itself, there was I remember watching it thinking this isn't going to be that good. And then there was the pre-show when... Oh, no, wait. I'm thinking of 30. I'm thinking of when Cesaro threw out Big Show. That was 30. But in 31, I mean, you had Miz down nearly turn, and you could see how hot the crowd were even in the pre-show. And then, was Rollins on the opener? No, the ladder match was the opener. That was fantastic.
Yeah, Rollins was with Randy.
And then that RKO when he popped him out of his neck, I was like...
People up the game at WrestleMania.
Kind of clicked in my head, and I was like, it is WrestleMania. They always do this.
Yeah.
There's always good stuff saved for
Always good
WrestleMania.
stuff. There's always the guys always have new gear. You know, they always look different and interesting. You know, it feels a little bit fresher because of the stadium setting as well. It looks different, and you know those tiny little things do make a bit of a difference as well. And it'll be a good show. On paper, it's not so brilliant, but there's plenty on there that'll be entertaining.
Just like to point out that before, when we were just discussing the worst manias of all time, and I misspoke and I said that WrestleMania 8 was maybe the worst mania of all time.
Misspoke. You
And I was,
misspoke.
and I was,
Yeah, you
and
were
I
just
was,
wrong.
and I was crucified for it.
Explain why you thought it was bad.
No, I thought it was the worst ending of all. Well, one of the worst alongside
Just sit back again.
9.
Look, right. How can any show that's got Piper versus Bret Hart
Yeah.
and Randy Savage versus Ric Flair, two great matches,
Yeah.
you know, it's the whole card is entertaining. It's WWF sort of the end of the peak run for the WWF, and then the ending it's a flat
it's awful.
DQ.
Oh, it's awful.
But Warrior's return was huge.
Yeah, it was.
The guy hadn't been seen since SummerSlam, you know, since August the previous year, and you've got to remember what a big star Warrior was at the time. You know, this was a major deal for the WWF to have him back, and fans went crazy.
How
for him
long had he been gone for?
since August?
Oh, really? Oh, right. Oh.
Since SummerSlam.
I mean, that makes sense. But it did end like an episode of Raw. From our modern perspective, that's what it seemed like. Obviously, they'd have had nothing like that at the time. But
Right. But I mean, the ending wasn't helped by Shango missing his running cue.
it's jogging.
You know, I think he underestimated the size of that aisle because it was a long aisle.
I don't know if we should do this so close to his Hall of Fame induction. Feel
It's
quite
not Papa
bad.
Shango,
Oh,
it's a Godfather, two different people.
two different people? It was the same man. Is this how you view
Man,
kayfabe
sense of
though?
humour just goes
No.
flying over your
No,
head.
I've got a genuine point because is this how you view kayfabe? Because I view it as he is the same man, but he had like a
Of course
big
it's the
change
same
of.
man, it's Charles.
He had like a big no in kayfabe. I think it's the same man. He just had a big change of personality.
Nah,
No.
you
No,
can't like that.
can you not do that?
No.
No, Papa Shango has
Kane
nothing
was
to
a
do with the others.
dentist, was he?
Oh yeah, you're right about
Come
that.
on.
So you're trying to suggest that Papa Shango could get a future Hall of Fame induction on his own?
I mean that would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Maybe, yeah. I think
He is a
Godfather going
popular
in's fine
fancy
though.
dress candidate, though, isn't he?
Shango,
If you're
Godfather.
getting on that mock.
No Luthez, no Rick Rude, but the Godfather, that's okay with you. But Papa Shango, that's when you start to question this whole thing.
That's when I started to think this is a bit weird. This is a bit over. Yeah.
I can't believe you don't like WrestleMania, right? I'm
No,
so
it's not.
furious
I've not
with you.
said that. I misspoke. I don't like the ending. I detest the ending. Flair and Savage is a fantastic feud, and the bit with the images, the photoshopped images or whatever you used at the
Oh, yeah.
time.
I don't
of
think it was
Flair
Photoshop.
Flair and Elizabeth next to like a horse. Stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great stuff.
So don't we need to talk about the worst ones?
The worst ones.
Worst WrestleManias?
9.
9.
You said 9, but I mean, is 9 that bad?
27. I know we've all got the opposite of a soft spot
27 is
for. We
disappointing.
all don't like. Yeah.
But 9, at least it looks interesting. You know, at least there's some
Jim Ross
fun
in the
moments.
dress.
Yeah, well,
So, yeah, I don't need to say that, do I?
probably eating on a camel. I mean,
That was hilarious.
only WrestleMania where Undertaker didn't win properly.
Oh,
Brock
Giant
Lesnar.
His
Gonzalez.
entrance was good then. I enjoyed
Right.
that little chariot. Of
Savage's entrance is unbelievable. He's like reclining, isn't he, on a thing?
Yeah.
He gets carried.
If
over
you
it.
were at WrestleMania 9, that'd have been your entrance.
That'll be on a unicorn.
Is that right?
There's rumours of the New Day going to do that on Sunday.
Yes, there is. Next Sunday.
Next Sunday, sorry.
Triple Eddie.
I can't
know.
see it. I can't see them coming from
What's
the
going
rafters.
to happen is, James, 3 unicorns, 3 real unicorns will appear at the top of the Titan
Start
Track,
again.
and they'll be all attached to harnesses, and they'll be propelled around the arena in a circular motion, and they'll all swoop down
I
around the ring.
hope you're right, but in the years since Owen Hart died, have they ever had anyone repel from any rafters or do anything involving heights?
It would be in
in
bad
that way?
taste in that sort of sense, but
They cost them a lot of money in a lawsuit as well.
I
so-
must point out that whenever the New Day get involved, Ross sort of loses perspective. The other
I
day, he
understand
claimed that Big E was the greatest wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not
If we just so
completely wrong.
briefly, so nine's bad.
That's not completely wrong.
Nine's bad. I just chose to ignore it. 27's bad.
15's woeful.
15.
Vince Russo's masterpiece.
2, I'm going to give a shout out to 2 in the 3 different locations. That was weird. Didn't
There's
really
no
work.
great matches.
There's nothing good
yeah.
on it.
I mean, a lot of those early WrestleManias,
No,
the wrestling isn't brilliant.
it's the spectacle, isn't it?
Yeah, the spectacle is, but the wrestling's not great.
But no, in summary, it's not going to be the worst WrestleMania. of all time.
No
No,
idea.
it's not.
Injuries
No
or
idea.
not. Question 3 from at Dan Bennett _ Should Seth Rollins be a heel or a babyface when he comes back? I'll go to you first, Ross.
It's inevitable that he's going to be one of the biggest faces when he returns.
Just naturally.
Because everyone misses him so dearly because he's that damn good.
He's fantastic.
So WWE don't have a choice here. They can try and put him back as a heel. Won't work.
Would you agree?
I think he will be a face, absolutely. I mean, I think they probably want him to be a heel because they don't have any top heels, and he was obviously the top heel throughout most of last year. But people, like you say, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. People have missed him. You know, the show's been worse without him. And like at the Slammies when he was there briefly, for all he played a heel, he did get cheered.
Yeah.
Probably not as loudly as some people expected, mind, but he did get cheered.
I mean, he got cheered when he was champion.
Yeah, well, of course, because there's no faces and
that
heels anywhere. Fans nowadays
Apart from the
appreciate good wrestlers, you know.
My boy, The Miz. Only heel in WWE now.
Jericho.
Yeah, I was gonna- People were chatting Y2J.
Everyone still loved Jericho. Yeah, true.
Do they?
It was
Ross
still-
I
doesn't.
don't know. He does a pretty good job of being a heel. He's
Yeah.
definitely better than being a baby.
He commits to it a lot.
But Jericho's a bit different though, because he wasn't. Every time he comes back, he's never anywhere near as over as before when he's a
He did
babyface.
too much.
He's like a Russian doll.
Yeah, right. He is. He is like
Where that
that.
came from.
in a strange kind of way. I know what you mean, but look, Rollins could come back at WrestleMania.
What would he do?
Cost Roman.
You tell me.
That would be
Cost
that would be
Roman?
unbelievable.
Repeat of last year. You know, obviously not with the Money in the Bank, but you
Just
know that music hits
running
the end of
down.
that match.
Yeah,
There's your WrestleMania ending
Everyone
that
goes radio
everyone wants to see.
everyone does go radio rental, Ross. That's exactly what happens. King Ross, sorry.
But what I would do, though, is have it similar to Triple H in 2002.
Right.
Since Triple H is quite obviously Rollins' mentor in WWE right in the minute, have him film a few Desire promos, hype it up,
Creed.
host Raw and MSG, and then there you go. Roof lifted, radio rental. Radio rental.
I'm going to agree, and I'll say that I do think he should be a. You're really trying to get that get that
Radio
across on you. I'll agree. He's going to be a
Horses for
babyface.
courses.
Horses for courses. He's going to be a babyface whether WWE want it or not, and they should just go with it. But then who would he feud with?
There's not many.
Not many
The Miz.
heels.
He's not going to feud with the Miz. I mean, he needs to feud with Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense, you know, especially if Reigns has got the belt. And okay, if they're both baby faces officially, does it matter? So were Brock and Dean Ambrose, and you know they put Reigns with him. With
I
them,
mean,
sorry, and
Reigns will get booed and Rollins will get cheered
Reigns can
anyway.
get booed whoever you
Yeah,
put him
yeah,
with, unless they put him with Sheamus or Braun Strowman and
Or The Miz.
or the Miz,
The Miz.
or maybe Ryback, you know,
Yeah.
and which are all terrifying possibilities. But you've got to put Seth and Roman in there together. I think.
I mean, maybe not immediately. Or do you think straight away if they can?
Depends what happens
Just-
in Mania, doesn't it? There's a lot of possibilities. I mean, it depends when he is actually coming back. We're just
Well, he's in
guessing
the
here.
gym. We know that much.
He's doing his
Right.
So
CrossFit.
he could be capable of a run-in.
Or
Sure, because he doesn't have to wrestle for the first month he's back. You know, he could just.
Test that knee with a pedigree.
Oh,
Yeah, off you go.
risky that. So we're all in agreement for that one, which is nice.
We have been throughout it.
Actually, yeah.
I'm really very happy about
Well, this is unusual, this.
Yeah.
I feel like Kenny might stir the pot a little more, so I'll try and do that. Right then, you two. No, I don't know what I'm doing. Question 4 from Michael Farrer, 92. Same year as us.
Good, yeah.
A very good year, some would say. Liverpool won the FA Cup against Sunderland. Anyway, who is your guilty pleasure wrestler? Which wrestler do you like? But if you said that to your friends who also watch wrestling, they'd embarrass you. They'd be like, "Why do you like him? He's rubbish."
I think you should go first in this one.
I'll go first. Mine is,
You are a jobber.
well, of course, mine is the Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman. What an unbelievable man he is.
With that unbelievable trance theme song.
What's wrong with you, man? Come on. Okay, why? Why Steve Blackman?
I'm not gonna
Of
be-
everybody you could have chosen.
I'm not going to pretend he's like a great worker or charismatic or anything like that. I'll just say
Right.
he looks good, right, for one.
So does Psycho Sid.
Right, okay, well, I was a kid when Blackman was at his peak, when he was hardcore champion, he was battering people with his little sticks.
Right.
And I remember him, a vivid memory of mine is watching him stick a trash can on Albert's head, get on the apron and jump off and hit him with a kendo stick. And I thought it was genius. As a child, Steve Blackman to me was like the coolest one.
In an era where you had Steve Austin, The Rock.
there's a bit where, when Austin's looking for who ran him down, and he invites Steve Blackman out of the ring
Right.
and just bullies him and stunners him and everything. And then it's like, oh, it wasn't Blackman in the end, but he gives him another stunner anyway or something like that. I felt horrible for Blackman. I was like, that's my boy, and he's just, I can't believe you've done this.
I don't really get the appeal. I mean, I understand. He was entertaining when he was in like the straight guy in the partnership with Al Snow and
Right.
Ed Cheese. That I could understand. And he was kind of cool as a silent assassin type. He'd come down the ring, beat somebody up, walk away, disappear, which he did for about 3 weeks
Yeah.
until I got bored of it. But of all the people, Steve
The
Blackman.
neon nunchucks were fantastic, though, when he first appeared.
They were great. Well, Ross,
Which I have proved exist, because you and Kenny didn't think so, but we'll leave that there.
that was an eventful episode. Who's your guilty pleasure wrestler?
Simon Dean.
Simon Dean Nova, or just
the gimmick
Simon
of
Dean?
Simon Dean. His Simon Dean self.
So what was it again? Was it a
He had
product?
his patented Simon system,
Yeah.
which would get people thin,
I mean, we
get
can.
people healthy.
It's kind of bullfit, but not really.
Well, no, because bullfit's just a way of life, and it's Simon. He had the Simon system,
Right.
Same kind of
physical,
It was
thing,
more
though.
scientific.
physical thing. Yeah.
I mean, do you think that gimmick would have could have been?
It could have been an upper mid card gimmick.
Oh.
Oh, aim for
It
the
could.
stars, yeah.
Yeah. It just didn't get utilised enough for me because I used to pop every time it came out.
You loved Simon Dean.
Simon Dean,
It's a very.
fantastic.
It's not original though, is it? I mean, it's
It was original to me because it was my first.
original to you, but it's fitness instructor type gimmicks have been tried and
He was brilliant at it,
failed
though, with his
for
blue
years.
lycra and Segway. And
It was funny because it was a bit crap. That's why. Yeah.
It doesn't scream main event,
no, it doesn't, but it could have gone.
but you
further.
wish he was.
It was better than Velocity. Is all I'm saying.
And finally, James, who is your guilty pleasure wrestler? And I'm really looking forward to this.
You shouldn't be.
Okay.
Because I am. It's a very guilty pleasure.
Okay.
Ahmed Johnson.
Ahmed Johnson. Ooh.
Ahmed Johnson. He of multiple knee pads and incredibly shiny body. Have you ever seen anyone glisten quite like Ahmed Johnson?
Talking about him
It's
in
like a-
quite loving terms
It's
here,
like
aren't
a
you?
twinkling star. No, he was. The guy was wild. It was just. He came out. He was just this big, huge beast, and then he'd do topes and just for no reason. Just
I don't remember him doing that.
King of the Ring '96.
That was a loving tribute to Ahmed Johnson there. But if we can just move swiftly on, it's made us all quite uncomfortable, I feel.
Made him the most uncomfortable. He's got bad memories of Ahmed Johnson.
Especially them tights.
The tights.
The tights that accentuated his crotch to an unparalleled degree. The slits in the thighs pushed him. As a young man, as 5 years old, I remember
You remember it as 5?
the only apart from Big T at WCW, which he was as well. Was it Big T? It was Big T, wasn't it? I remember
He feuded with Booker T over the letter T.
Andy's music.
Good feud.
Anyway,
Good
I
writing.
remember Ahmed Johnson's crotch, a 5-year-old me. That is the stand-up memory. Let's
Sterling.
move on.
Sterling childhood memories there. Question 5, and the final one, is from... now I recognise this name. at Sam Houston 98. He put a picture of me on Twitter recently, and it was an old Facebook profile picture. Please don't do that again, Sam. That's really quite creepy of you, actually. I don't think you should do that anymore.
I mean, to be fair to him, he does own his own building.
What's that?
Sam Houston Coliseum.
Oh,
Yeah, it's wrestling. So if he wants to, I mean, he's not famous, man. So if he
it's
wants to
quite a
mess
big
around
shot.
with you- yeah, if he wants to mess around with your
Well,
social media, I think he's within his right to do that.
my apologies, Sam Houston. I have tightened up my privacy settings anyway.
Alright.
And he says, what are our favourite and least favourite WrestleMania matches of all time?
You can lead.
Right.
I think.
I'm probably going to have to go for WrestleMania 17, Stone Cold Steve Austin v. The Rock. It's a classic, isn't it, really? No arguments there.
No? Well,
we'll say different ones, but we're not going to argue.
should Austin have stunned The Rock? Not the Rock?
He
You
did
should've stunned The
multiple
Rock.
Yeah, he should have
times.
stunned him, obviously.
You did.
Should
Yeah.
he have stunned McMahon in the end to keep that edgy face persona?
From a business point of view, yeah. That would have... I don't know if it would have saved wrestling, because everything kind of... various factors combined to make sure the business was never as good again, really, just after that WrestleMania. But so from a business perspective, it probably would have helped if he'd stayed face. But I think from just a storytelling point of view, it made total sense and it was perfect, because Austin kept saying in the build-up, "I'll do anything, Rock. I need to beat you. You don't understand how much I need to beat you. I'll do anything." And then he did. He did the worst thing. He sold out, and it was the last thing anyone expected Austin, the character, to do. And it was a great match as well. On top of all that, fantastic.
That it was.
It was the peak of the Attitude Era, really. It was
Yeah.
The last great hurrah for it, but the problem was fans didn't want to boo Austin.
No.
And it came at the same time that WCW died, ECW died, and the business was changing quite significantly. And a lot of things, a lot of sort of staples changed almost overnight. And Austin not being the babyface anti-hero anymore was one of them. And I think it did hurt the WWF at the time, but by the same token, heel Austin was great. His in-ring work was probably among the best it's ever been. I mean, his matches with Kurt Angle were fantastic. Around that time, his matches with Benoit and with Jericho, and it was a great time to watch Austin in the ring. But it was just sort of, you knew the Attitude Era was done.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit sad at the same time. Things would never be quite the same after that.
Quite a poignant one, I guess, a choice.
It's a great match, though. It's an unbelievable.
Oh yeah. Let's just hope Ross has gone with something less emotionally grueling.
I have.
All right.
I've just gone for pure wrestling with Taker versus Michaels Uno
Yeah.
at Mania 25.
What an unbelievable match.
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
That's what that was. That was wrestling.
That summed it up for you.
Fantastic.
It is a brilliant match. I mean, it's almost. It's basically perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you have to. Anybody who criticises that match possibly doesn't really like wrestling.
Or doesn't get it, I
Or
suppose.
doesn't get it, yeah, maybe.
Like you and gimmicks.
Look, I don't want to get into that again. But
No,
Godfather and
Steve Blackman would be.
yeah, great match. I've heard you tell a backstage story before regarding that match, actually. A reported story from backstage.
Well, Taker found out when the match was on, and I think he was under the impression or felt that they should have been on last, which I would be inclined to agree with. I mean,
Yeah.
it was far bit more. It was a match people were looking forward to more than Triple H Randy Orton. That's for sure. And when he found out how low down the card they were, he was, that's it, it's on. And when you've got Taker motivated and Shawn Michaels motivated, two of the greatest ever in the ring, then
Everything goes radio rental.
wasn't it just
To coin a term.
right?
And James, what is your favourite WrestleMania match of all time?
So many great ones, I mean, people love the game at WrestleMania, like we said, but Steamboat Savage is always up there.
Mhm.
It has to be at Bretto in the ladder match as well between Razor and Michaels. But I would think if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Austin versus Bret at 13, because as far as I'm concerned, that's sort of perfect in every way. Like the brawl was brilliant. It felt like a contest between two men who hated each other, who would do anything to win. The blood was, it added to it, I think. The storyline they had going in was superb. The double turn was executed unbelievably well. I don't think you could.
It's
do
such a
that today.
difficult thing to do as well, yeah.
Absolutely. To turn a whole audience on a dime in the space for like 25 minutes. I don't see how you couldn't do it today. You couldn't do it today.
No, And sadly, now we've talked about 3 great matches, we've got to talk about our least favourite 3 matches of all time at WrestleMania. Shall I start things off again?
Feel free.
All right.
Ladies first.
Excellent. I'll go with... there's quite a few to choose from, but I think not in terms of in-ring action, although there certainly wasn't much of that to speak of, but more for what it represented. I'm going to go with Hulk Hogan v Yokozuna, WrestleMania 9. What was he thinking? What was anyone... Well, he was thinking, I want to be champion again.
I think Vince was thinking it used to be better when Hogan was champion, and I'd love those Hulkamania days back.
Yeah.
And he went temporarily insane.
What a bad misreading of the audience and of trends and everything.
That's not like him.
Oh.
Careful, man.
Ross, what's
I
your...
love Vince.
Oh, that's right.
I'm a mark for Vince McMahon.
Ross, what's your least favourite WrestleMania match?
Big Show, Akibono, thongs.
Lovely.
Why? Move on.
Is Big Show a thong more disturbing to you than Emma Johnson's crotch?
Emma Johnson's crotch.
Well, we have a winner there.
And finally, I'm sure that we'll round things off on a happy note. James, what's your least favourite WrestleMania match of all time?
It's not that happy. I mean, I would probably go with Brett and Vince.
Oh, that's a sad one, isn't it?
Which is a sad one, because it was just awful seeing the great Bret Hart reduced to that. You know, I mean, I understand completely why. You know, because it's an old guy and an old guy who's had a stroke wrestling.
Yeah.
Neither can really bump or do anything. And then the booking was horrible. But after so many years of waiting for that match, you know, like 13 years, just over 13 years, fun to see Vince and Bret finally collide, and then it'd have been better not doing it, or having someone in the corners like Trump and McMahon.
Yeah.
You know, something like that, a representation of them rather than themselves.
Well, what a trio of horrendous matches we've picked there. And what better way to close WWE questions you most want answered. I've been Jack. You can find me at Jack the Jobber, or Jack_the Jobber, sorry, on Twitter. I've been with King Ross Tweddle.
King
Where
Ross
can we
Tweddle.
find you?
At Ross on Wrestling.
At Ross on Wrestling. And James Dixon. Have you got anything you want to plug by any chance?
Maybe. What about if we promote the WhatCulture book? That might be a good.
Oh, there we go. Keep an eye out for that on the site, and we'll be mentioning it on social media as well. So for all of us, this has been WWE Questions You Most Want Answered, and thanks very much for watching.
King!
No.